I'm so excited to have you join us on the beginning of many conversations that we are going to talk about AI and how it's making an impact in our industry, where it is now, how it's growing, and just all of the issues and the concerns and the thoughts around it when it comes to the team. And I'm super excited to have Cassie on with me today. I've actually known of Cassie for a very long time, and we just finally got connected in the last couple of weeks, and we've been talking so much about AI and how the team's going to embrace it and how the doctors can bring it into the practices. And we realized it's time to bring it to the air because the conversations we're having, so are you. So Cassie, welcome to our first of many discussions we're going to have around AI.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I actually, over the last 24 years, have come from hospitality into dental and healthcare, and honestly found hospitality to be this wonderful segue into more. And so my background was in marketing and operations even before entering into dental, and just very quickly found a love for the space years and years ago and recognized there was such a need to transform the patient continuum of care. How do we operate better and more efficiently as a practice? And have just enjoyed so much working alongside DSOs, groups, and even single locations to just change the model of the way things work today. So I'm excited to talk to you about it. I think it definitely is, at the forefront of everyone's conversations, but the way we implement it, the way we integrate it, I always like to say it's high tech combined with high touch. And so we're leveraging the human element combined with that technology for just a better patient experience and a better, more profitable practice.
I love what you say, Cassie, about high tech and high touch. And what we're going to do in this session is we're just going to kind of high level overview the types of things we've been talking about. And then we're going to really get in the weeds in future videos. So I'd love to know from you right now on this time of this video, where do you see AI going on?
There's been a huge influence to consider more automation with intake and less human touch when it comes to even checking into the practice. I believe you're still going to see this kind of resurge of this mindset around how do we have teams that are engaged with the patients in decision making combined with that technology. So I think there are a lot of mainstays that stay put. I think the doctor chair side conversations and the way things are done to communicate with the patient require a human element. I think the delivery of it, the way that we get them to the point of actual decision making, has AI included within that, embedded within that. But, I do believe that there's in healthcare in general. I mean, I wrote this recently, even Bill Gates was talking about the fact that the one industry that will see the most combination effect of technology and human element is healthcare, because, the decision-making process, the concern, the care for the individual, that can't be a machine. And so I definitely feel like that we're at a point in a crossroad, so to speak, where those human elements will still remain. But there are certainly things that, we can all be very frank with each other about that we've done poorly, not for lack of trying, but, high turnover rate. I shared the exodus of dental IQ. So we've lost the 30 plus year employees that were once with us. So there is this void, this, gaping void of what's missing in our space currently. And I do think that technology will fill in those gaps for sure.
I love that you talk about that. And I actually think that this would be a great session for us to talk about in the future about change management, because we are going through a significant change. And you were talking about the champions of the change and the warriors of the past. And I agree with that. And I think there's 10, 20% on either side of that. But what's in the middle actually is the 80% of the rest of the team who's sitting back and is like, I'm going to watch to see what happens. I'm going to see whether or not we're actually going to implement this change, or if the warriors of the past are going to hold things the way they are, because we all know that change is hard in the dental office. And change means extra work many times on the team members. I mean, what you're talking about of getting into the foundation and learning and fixing our systems, that's work, right? So the most of the team members are waiting to see, is this something we're actually going to do or not? Because we've tried to change so many things in the past and maybe weren't successful at it. I definitely think we should jump into change management on a future topic. Everywhere I go now, more and more and more people are talking about AI. Every time I go to a conference, it's on everyone's booth. So how do you know where to start? Where do you suggest a dentist goes, or how do they even know what companies to work with, or who to talk to?
Yeah, I would just say first and foremost, I think at an executive level, there is very much this awareness that technology is going to fill so many voids, but there's a kind of a quick assertion down that path of implementation. And I think there's a degree of pause that needs to happen first to get teams' engagement and involvement in what those core deficiencies are, just from the top all the way down. And at a practice level, I think I shared this with you last week that I'm seeing practices kind of patchworking together solutions with technology that are actually making things more difficult. Just talked to a doctor today. His office manager and the one who runs his front desk walked out together. He had implemented some new technology and it did not go well. And they just quit. They just decided we're done. And, I think retention of teams and strategizing how to retain those teams by getting them deeply involved in where they have been overworked and overburdened is the starting point. And so when I go in and work with practices, I'm not able to have an influence with them until I've listened to what those core deficiencies are, because implementing an SOP isn't what today's standard practice needs. I don't need to go in and give them a checklist of 20 things to do because of what I know works in a practice. It's going in and it's listening, observing, talking to the team, saying, where do you see the deficiencies today? What would you like to see change? They may not have the answer of what needs to be done next, but they can tell you the deficiencies. Creating those ambassadors of change are really where it's at. I shared this last week in a vendor sales meeting and, kind of coaching them. But, we have the warriors of the past and we have the champions of change. And to shift from the warriors of the past into the champions of the change, we have to take those warriors that are the diehard, you're never going to get an insurance claim accurate with AI. It's got to be me verifying it. That's okay, that they feel that way, but really unpackaging with them. Okay, I know you want to keep it this way, but let's talk about what the pull your hair out, hair on fire moments are. And is it affecting your life beyond your job? And what I find is they end up sharing a significant amount of those deficiencies. And really, that's the starting point, is to lean in and listen and hear where those deficiencies are, because AI will present itself as the solution, but the goal is to help your teams to get there in a way where they see it as a helper to what they're already doing in their profession and not taking away from their job.
I think what I've seen over the last 10-ish years is that we've had this influx of business coming into our industry. And what I mean by that, you were talking about this exodus of 30-year plus employees, and that we've had so much dental wisdom running dental, which is so necessary. But more recently, we've had business coming into our industries, right? DSOs and group practices. And that's also necessary because there's a balance between, we've got to know how to run our business, but we also need the dental wisdom. And I feel like that's also where the void is right now with regards to how to run our practices. This new technology that's coming in, it's going to fill the void in a way we've never seen in our industry to help our team members be more efficient, to help with the hiring issues that we're having, to help with patient care, to give the patients the best care possible. But also, we still need the dental wisdom. We still need the people at the office who are there and understand the patients and what they need. So if you're a doctor or recommending to a doctor right now, where do I start? Where do I begin? Who do I talk to? Where are the places that I should be looking to fill the void for my practice using AI?
Well, I think first of all, a lot of people are talking about it that actually don't possess any AI. So that's something that we probably need to sort through in our conversations together. I also think that dentistry, because I say this frequently, in dentistry, we're dealing in the finite space and the infinite possibilities of AI that are opening up, that are taking us from these finite details that have been missed. It can be so overwhelming and so, so big in terms of the perspective of integration. And I mean, there's even an ad out there right now of literally start to finish, an AI assistant is walking the dentist through their day. I believe I believe these things are, on the horizon, but I believe that we're in a beginning phase here where we have the ability to have the posture of kind of a practice cleanup, a mission of cleanup to get the practice ready for technology so that it actually serves as an enhancement, not a barrier or something that's a deficiency. And I'll use a great example of that. AI for me is something that I'm intensely curious about. I'm constantly pursuing what's out there, what's available, right down to utilization of AI for formation of job descriptions and bringing together all of those different pieces. But one example of that would be AI overlay for radiograph interpretation and diagnostics. While I'm excited for what's happening and presenting itself with that, many practices haven't invested in proper radiograph materials and new sensors. And so the input of those sensors and digital x-rays is not up to standard. So then the output of the AI is deficient in diagnostic or over diagnosing based on radiolucencies that are presenting themselves. And so, like I said, I think we're on the cusp of huge shifts in our industry. But I think it's a time to lay foundational basics once and for all to say our equipment is up to standard, our protocols are up to standard, we know what we do and don't want. We've talked to the team about where those deficiencies are. And then now we're going to build purposefully with AI, not just patchwork.
I agree. And you talk about purposely with AI. There's a couple other aspects that I would add to that, which is first of all, looking at, what problems are we trying to solve? We're not trying to bring in technology just to add another thing to the team to do. Are we trying to solve a problem? And then the second thing is that the team just doesn't have enough time. Where are we going to find the time to help the teams learn and grow? And you brought up radiographs, and I had never thought about the technology part of it, making sure that our equipment and our computers are up to the ability to do it, but also we have to train the team. I've talked to an office where they implemented AI in radiographs, and they said that they turned it off because the team didn't like it. And my thing is the team, we need to train the team. We need to get the team on board. And if you just turn something on, that's just one more thing they have to do throughout their day. And if they don't embrace it, if it's not solving a problem, and if they don't have time to learn it, it's not going to be successful. It doesn't matter how great this piece of technology is. So again, this is a lot for an office to consider. Where do you think the starting point should be?
They may have been given a set standard of how to utilize it that doesn't work well in their workflow. For instance, I've seen a vendor jump into this training and say, so this is the best way to use our system. And you're going to click here, do this, this, and this, and you're going to present this here. And they've never stopped to consider the workflow, that there's a patient in the chair. They already have a methodology of how they do tray setup and get ready. And really, they need to be considerate of the fact that there's already an established workflow. And many times, the reason why they're not using it is simply because it doesn't fit into their current model. I spoke with a vendor who does AI verification of insurance, and entire DSO wasn't utilizing the verification. They said, so simple. I mean, it just embeds right into the patient information inside of Open Dental. And I had a chance to go into those practices, and it's not a live link. When you put it into the patient's file, they have to hit Control C and Control V and hover with their cursor and then paste it in a new window to open it. And they said, well, yeah, I mean, that's how it's always been. And I said, just take the extra effort to make it a live link, because most people that are working in these clinics don't know how to cut and paste. That we assume as business individuals or at a C-suite level, that someone working in a clinic has that same knowledge. They may have an incredible people set of skills, right? They may be highly attentive to making sure that the environment is clean and ready for the practice to be open and running. We assume that something as simple as a control C, control V is something that they've learned or mastered when they haven't. That's at the heart of what we're facing. I've seen doctors come in and turn on AI assistants that are making phone calls, but they still have paper charts. I will always urge to not put the cart before the horse. I think AI has its place in our industry, and it's going to literally take over our industry in incredible ways because of the need that's there. But now is the time to really hone in on those skill sets and refining what it is we want it to look like before turning on AI.
Also, that there needs to be a balance of training the AI the right way. We rely so much on humans, and we need the humans to make sure, like you said, the systems are working, that the information, the data uses data, right? Data and patterns. So the data has to be right, but also we need to make sure that we're working with companies that understand dental or medical or our optometry offices or whatever, because AI is one thing, but dental is something else, right? And this is a perfect time, like you're saying, to like clean things up, to make sure that the companies who are bringing us the latest technology also understand how it's going to work in the practice, how it's going to work with the team, and how it's going to make our practice better.
Of excellence inside of our PMS. Yeah, I think the best example to share was a dinner I sat at with Eric Roman. And
so let's go back. I mean, we're going deep in the weeds, and I want to make sure at this first video that we're kind of staying high level, because we're going to go deep in other videos. But just overall, let's just talk about what AI is. And can you just give a layman's example, a way that you've seen AI work? Take it out of dental for a minute, and let's just talk about like how AI is impacting everyday lives and what we can learn from it now as we start to look at how it's going to come into our practice.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of these dentists have lost long-term employees that, like I said, held a lot of knowledge. What they're working with today is a team that isn't fully trained on systems and protocols. Of all the things we've lost this RCM knowledge of past, insurance supporting team members. And so the need for AI to come in and take that over is huge. But the doctors don't understand that things within the clinic aren't set up correctly. Payer IDs weren't updated throughout the pandemic. The payer fee schedules weren't updated. They're operating out of kind of these older systems that really need to just have a nice cleanup done before they're ready for the AI implementation, so that auto adjudication and things of that nature, where that's posting directly for the practice, they work. Because we've got the set standard there of excellence inside of our PMS.
So let's go back. I mean, we're going deep in the weeds, and I want to make sure at this first video that we're kind of staying high level, because we're going to go deep in other videos. But just overall, let's just talk about what AI is. And can you just give a layman's example, a way that you've seen AI work? Take it out of dental for a minute, and let's just talk about like how AI is impacting everyday lives and what we can learn from it now as we start to look at how it's going to come into our practices.
Example to share was a dinner I sat at with Eric Roman, and Eric was sitting with me, and he begins to start telling me about the restaurant that we're in. He said, "It's great that we're at this table. The piano's about to start, and it's pretty loud, but we're in a great corner over here. And the cod is really great on the menu, and so is the tri-tip. Those are the top things." And he also offered suggestions for appetizers. And when he finished, I said, "Oh, so you've been here before?" And he said, "No, I use Chat GPT before I go into a restaurant. And I asked Chat, okay, I'm getting ready to meet someone here. I don't want to have the headache of ordering something that's not top of the menu excellent. I want to make sure that I'm seated in the right spot, that I'm dressed in the right attire, and that I'm able to have that knowledge before I go in." And I started laughing, and I said, this equates to so much of what people don't understand AI can do, which is creating an environment where we can interact as our best self, because of the shared knowledge that Chat and Claude and others are pulling. And I found it to be such an enjoyable dinner talking to him and, hearing even what he suggested to order for dinner, because it really did take the worry out of, do I order the wrong thing on the menu? I share that as an example in life to say, I think that's really where AI can be leveraged in the best way, is to take us from a place of seeing it as a replacement for human touch, but more of an enhancement and a polishing, so to speak, of the information sets that we need in our life to be better at what we do. I've, utilized Claude AI to go in and actually say, I'm getting ready to give a presentation. Talk to me about my presence on stage. What do the best speakers do in terms of how they move their hands, and what's the best color to wear and the most influential? Like, asking questions that are building blocks for something better are really what AI is all about. And those that I'm seeing that are flourishing with AI in many communities, not just healthcare and dental, they're taking that curiosity to say, okay, let's talk about the flaws within our clinic, which one of them is that our team members don't feel like they're adequately supported or they're in the wrong role. Gather all their roles, all their responsibilities, ask the team in a survey what they feel like they're not good at versus what they are good at. Ask them their dreams of what they would like to do. Take all that data, put it into chat, and ask it, Chat GPT, and say, okay, tell me where you feel like positionally I could take the strengths from the survey and reallocate the time and energy of my team and give them better checklists. Categorically, AI has the ability as an intuitive learning situation to take your data points, what you know that's going on, and give you ideas for how you can make it better. I really believe that that's what's coming, is for people who don't know what AI can even do, is this is about an intuitive learning environment where you get to say, okay, I have these deficiencies, or I'm worried about the outcome of these things. What can AI do to support me in those deficient areas? And then one by one, start to tackle them with the right scripting, the right language, the things that you know are missed. I mean, even when it comes down to phones, Laura, which I know we're going to talk about further, there's deficiency that we know is missed frequently in dental clinics. And in fact, if you talk to a doctor will be like, every time I tell them, don't talk about the cost of the visit, but I listen to those calls and they're telling them the cost. The doctors can usually tell you like where those deficiencies are. So can the office manager. What AI gives you the ability to do is how to not miss on those things. It's a perfection of your aim.
We can use it for brainstorming, for organization, for direction, for whatever you're using it for, so that when you are bringing the team on board, when you're bringing it up to the office about adding this new thing or new piece of technology to a system or to a problem that you have, that you've used it yourself and that you have seen growth or the ability to get better from it. So what else do you have? What other thoughts do you have around how a doctor or office manager or team member might kind of use it some more, just in the sense of everyday life, to help them get more comfortable with it? All right, on that note, we could go on for a couple hours talking about this. So we do plan to do that, but we are going to break these into segments going forward. So we're going to jump into each one of these topics we brought up here, plus many more. So I'm excited to have you back, Cassie, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next session. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We plan to go deeper and deeper into each one of these subjects. We plan to improve thank you, Cassie, for meeting with me today. And I look forward to future conversations. I know we could go on for hours right now, but we will break these into and talk about each parts of the conversation we had today, plus so much more. AI is growing and improving and changing in our industries so much that there's plenty to talk about. So please subscribe, join this conversation. We would love to have you involved with us. So write comments and questions that you have, and Cassie and I will be back at a future video to talk more about this. So thank you for joining today.